All right, well, real quick, we're going to go over my setup here, my bass head, my Peavey bass head. That's what I'm going to show you. Go over today and give you a breakdown of how it sounds and how nice this bad boy is. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I'm going to talk to you about it, explain it to you, and so you can get an idea what you're looking for and what you need to look for when you're playing out. Okay, so that's what we're going to get into today. The Peavey Bass Head. And I'm Donald with the bass instructor of the How to Play Bass online course at iwanttoPlayBass.com. Jump over there, subscribe, become a member for free, sign up when you're serious about reaching bass playing goals. And this is I Want to Play Bass, your YouTube channel, everything bass. So subscribe here, hit that bell, get in the loop, and don't miss a beat. All right, so we're talking about this. Back in the day, this head would be the size of a daggone hope chest. You know, it's huge. And this thing is right at 5 pounds. It's amazing. It's so good for my back, and you know, my cabinet's not so good for my back, so that helps alleviate some of the pain. I'd hate to be carrying around a huge heavy head as well, but they have come a long ways. They have gone a lot smaller, and some of them get a lot smaller than this, and they claim to do as much as this does, but their claims are not truthful. They're kind of it's advertising tactics to get you to jump on board with their product, which they still deliver, you know, a great tone and stuff like that, but they claim to give you a lot of watts, and they really don't. That's a false. It's, you know, consistently it's false, but you know, temporarily peak levels, yeah, they can get there, but it's only temporary. And it's really and truly, if you think about it, if you've got your amp and everything else, you have to have everything in line, you know, 4 ohms or what have you, to make that get there at peak, at, you know, maybe once in a blue moon. But here, right here, we've got the Mini Max 500, Peavey Mini Max 500, and it claims to give you 500 watts, which it will give you 500 watts, but the trick and the thing you got to look at when you're buying your head is at how many ohms. How many ohms will that deliver 500 watts or whatever it says it will? Now we'll see. We've got a hookup back here parallel, so this will give us. You can put one if you have a 4 ohm. If your cabinet is at 4 ohms, you can plug that up and you'll get your full 500 watts out of it. But typically, most of your bass cabinets are not 4 ohms. They are 8 ohms. So that means why Peavey put the 2 inputs back there is because they know most of them are 8 ohms. So they're not trying to falsify anything. They are telling you that you can get that if you get 2 8 ohm cabinets. If you have 2 8 ohm cabinets and you hook it into both those inputs, you're going to get 500 watts out of the 2, without a doubt. That is why I prefer the way Peavey does it, and a lot of them do. So you got to really research your head, and you got to research your cabinet. You got to find out what you have and how it's compatible with your amp. Now, if you just buy the Peavey head and the Peavey cabinet, and it says 500 watts, then, you know, even then, I'd still be a little skeptical that make sure that that cabinet is an 8 ohm cabinet, and then it will push your 500 watts. But really, 500 watts is that's a lot of juice. You don't necessarily need it if you're just playing nightclubs and stuff like that. You do not need 500 watts. Really, 150 watts is suitable and acceptable and gets the job done. But I wanted a little more. I didn't want to be peaking out or maxing out everything I got here. I didn't want the volume all the way up and gain all the way up and me maxed out. I just didn't want to be pushing it that hard to get there. So I said, let me go a little more so I've got a little headroom. So what I did is I got the 500, and now if I run that, and I've got an 8 ohm cabinet, that 8 ohms will give me, of this 500 watts, about 2/3 of that. So I'm looking at about 300, you know, here, you know, give or take a little bit. That's what I want. So I've got plenty of headroom. I seldomly have this thing maxed out, but I had an issue with my cabinet, so I was maxing out. I said, this is not right. So I got the cabinet fixed, and it does what it says it does, and that's the idea. That's the Peavey Mini Max, and I'll break it down for you. They've got little, you know, you got your passive input your passive input and your active input. Or let me see, vice versa. I'm sorry. I usually run the passive input just because I don't want a whole lot of crap going on in there. So I just stick with the passive. I have an active bass. Both of them are active, and I just run it into the passive, and it does fine. There's not too much going on in there. So then we've got our gain. Usually I'll run the gain a little higher, and then I can keep the volume down a little bit. Typically the way you want to set it up is you want to get it, if you see where your amp's peaking, you can, if you've got, this one doesn't have that ability, but what you can do is you just turn your gain up, turn your volume all the way down, turn your gain all the way up till you see it peaking. Once you see it peaking, you can back off of it and turn your volume up a little bit and just kind of work it, tweak it in. That way you're giving this signal, you're giving the signal to the sound man, everything he needs, all the signal you have is going right to him so he can work with it from there. That's kind of the idea with that technique, to turning your gain all the way up and then backing off of it and turning your volume up so you can tell where you're getting your most signal. Your gain is your signal. That's your gain. I usually run that up a little higher. Sometimes you get it too high, you can get some distortion, stuff like that. And then we have the, what Peavey calls it, a TT boost, and that's just going to give you even more growl, more bass if you need more. I like to just keep them out, just like to keep it simple. I don't want a lot going on. What we do doesn't need, I like a clean bass sound. I don't like a lot of distortion, but sometimes when you're playing a gig, you can have that distortion and it still sounds clean when you're playing as an ensemble, but when you're playing by yourself, you can hear the distortion. Next we have our bass. I usually back it down just a little bit and I'll pump it up on my pickups here. And you've got a bass boost as well. You can just get more bass, more down and dirty. Then we've got our mid. This is your middle. You can cut and scoop as you need it right there. I like to run it a little up there along with my treble, just to give it some highs in there that I like to add in there to get that clean sound. And then you've got a booster there as well. Then last but not least, we have our volume knoblet, which I don't like to have that all the way up to 6 o'clock. They're just maxed out. I don't like that at all. I usually keep it right at 12 o'clock, a little shy of it, and I'm happy. And then we've got what Peavey's come out with is this Psycho Acoustic. This little button here, and it just gives you more highs in there, and a little bit, depending on your gain, you can get a little bit of distortion. And then we've got our tuner here as well. You can cut your signal off right there and tune, or I just usually cut it off if I'm switching basses. I'll put it to tuner and it cuts off my signal, and then I can switch basses. So kind of like an on and off switch is kind of nice. So and you can tune from it. And then we've got our power on, power off, and you can play your headphones here. Got your auxiliary there. And then we've got our DI, our DI connections there that you need from running through the PA. Sometimes if it's simple setup, you just run right through the PA. I prefer not to. I like to have my amp there. I can adjust my signal there a little bit, but sometimes you just give the sound man, if you trust him, give him full access to your sound and everything else. And then we've got our effects loop here. You can add some loops and stuff like that in there to run through your amp, or through your signal, run it along with your signal. And that's it. We've got our power, we've got our DI post and pre-post, ground lift, and that's it. So this little baby here, it's not gonna, like I said, I got it used. Spend a little bit of money and get a little warranty with it, so in case it is burn up or something's not right about it, you can get your money back. So do that, and I'll give you a little demonstration here. Let me move to the garage. There's my baby. because it would deliver. You got your bright boost. Let's turn the treble off. On. Kind of loses a little bit there. Here's the bass, little punch. On. Off. Here is the gain, boost. On. That distortion there. Off. I like that. On. Kind of fun. You add the T2 boost on with the Psycho acoustics. Add it all on your bright. And when you add that in there, most likely you're not hearing it in the mix, in the ensemble. It's just giving you that much more growl, that much more low end. It's not necessarily you're going to give it that sound, but when you're playing it on your own, you definitely have some distortion. And then the higher you go with your gain, turn the volume down. The more you're going to get. Cut your gain back, that'll make it a little cleaner. Cut your treble back. Distortion there, kick it out, you're back to clean. So there you have it, the Peavey Minimax. Hope you enjoy it, and if you can help me help you, hit that like button. I'll catch y'all on a flip flop in the next video.